One big question is what makes us human? And there are several cognitive capacities that are good candidates as capacities that are human-specific. However, one striking capacity is a capacity to communicate. Humans seem to be incredibly good at communicating. But non-human animals, they do communicate also. So for instance, bees, they communicate about the location of the nectar through a bee dance. And there are many studies on animal behavior showing the existence of communication. So what is special about human communication? We think it is this versatility, this expressive power. Where does that come from? One standard answer is that it comes from language. And indeed, with language we can talk about everything. However, it misses an important aspect of communication, which is that we can also communicate non-verbally. And it is, in fact, pervasive. We communicate in non-verbal way in many, many ways and for everything. With pointing, we can attract attention to whatever is in our environment. Another aspect is teaching know-how, teaching skills. So for instance, I can demonstrate you how this pen works just by pressing this button. Oh, in order to write, you first need to press this clip. And pressing this clip here is itself an act of communication. Another example is expressive faces. So imagine that we are in the street and I see a passerby that I find really interesting. So I don't want to talk to you. I attract your attention, maybe I push a bit your shoulder, and then I do this type of face. And you yourself, you look at the person and, oh yes, she has maybe a funny haircut, but you don't think it's really interesting and you shrug like that, showing that it's of no interest to you. Here we have an event with non-verbal communication which is very rich. We've been talking a lot about our environment. More controversially, we also argue that art is also a way to communicate. We attract attention to beautiful things or thought-provoking things. Even punishment has a communicative function. By punishing, we want to express what is a good behavior. We want to communicate our standards about good behavior. With these two elements, we end up with a powerful communicative system. On the one hand, we have this capacity to manipulate attention, to attract attention to what we mean. On the other side, on the audience side, we have the capacity to recover what is meant, or, in other words, to come to understand what it is that the speaker wants to convey when he behaves communicatively. What humans do is that they spontaneously give attention to the communicators who request it. And they dedicate cognitive process to recover what the communicator means. This happens because humans have a presumption of cooperativeness. When communicators request attention, the audience presumes that there is something interesting to learn, that there is some information that is worth processing, that is worth the cognitive effort. And they will look for this information. So we have, in effect, a cognitive process, the cognitive process of interpreting communicative behavior that is triggered and based upon this presumption that the communicator has something interesting to say, that the communicator is cooperative in his communicative behavior.